Okay. Welcome everybody to Winter 4-day, 3-night Grand Teton Yellowstone Adventure. So I wanted to go over this here because it's just everybody gets to see kind of what we're doing out here, and it's a lot of fun. And I want to be real. I want to be able to explain everything of what's going on, so when people come out to go out on this trip, they know what they're in for. So you're in for definitely with the guides, some good jokes. I tell the best jokes there are. We're working on Daniel to get him some good jokes. Clint, he's got it down. Haley, we got to work on her as well. But we'll be going over our guides. We're going to be going over the route of the tour, the wildlife that we can see, and of course, several other things. So anybody out there in Facebook land, say hello. And can you hear me okay? Gary, Sue, I see you guys are on. Who else we got? Welcome, Corey. Nice to see you. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Here we go. Okay, so a little about BrushBuck. BrushBuck Wildlife Tours, we started in 2006. BrushBuck was founded. Started guiding backcountry clients in Alaska, Montana, Colorado, and some other states, even old Mexico. And that was all backcountry, and it was a lot of fun. And then we graduated and we moved into this because the summer, our summers, we didn't have any work in the summer because we were mostly guiding in the fall. And so we started doing these tours, and they just took off like crazy. And then we went ahead and moved on to Africa and moved on to Alaska because we'd already guided up in Alaska. So we went ahead and bounced it up to Alaska, which is great. Daniel and I had a great tour out there. So we're 100% veteran owned. We all did 4 or 5 years. I think Amber did 6 in the Navy. Yeah, 6 in the Navy. And we did our time, all combat veterans. And then now we're doing what we do now. So we pretty much got almost all our itineraries set. And now we just want to take more customers to these places because we love it. So we guide in Yellowstone, Africa, and Alaska. You can see we do Botswana, we do Kenya, we do Tanzania. We also do South Africa. South Africa is probably where we send the most folks. We do winter Yellowstone. We also have the apes in Rwanda. We can go over and see those as well. And the Alaska, that's a picture with the plane there that you're seeing. Alaska is all about the plane. You fly in and out of these lodges and everywhere you go. So the winter 4-day, 3-night overview: Grand Teton National Park, Jackson Hole in the Teton Valley region, and Yellowstone National Park are pretty much the areas of interest. And to clue everybody in, here we go. There's the route. You can see there's Salt Lake City, and we're just north and a little bit east of that, but south of Montana. There's the route from where we'll tour mostly. We go up around Jackson Lake. We go around Moose, and we go on these plowed roads to look for wildlife with our optics. And then that's day 1. We see the Tetons and do the elk refuge sleigh ride. And then on day 2, we head up to West Yellowstone to see everything. And then we see a lot of stuff on the way, like moose, and of course the scenery is great. And then all the animals, and of course, hydrothermal features and riding on the Snowcoach. It makes it there's a lot of moving parts to this. So 1 second here. I'm having a little bit of a technical deal. Here we go. So here's our guides, your BrushBuck winter guides. There's Daniel Bradford. He has 5 years of guiding. He's an Army National Guard artillery officer. He's a lieutenant, so I get to tease him as a butter bar. I was in the Marine Corps, and teasing butter bars was our specialty. His hobbies are hunting, fishing, hiking, and traveling. Haley Templeton, she has 5 years of guiding experience. She's done snowmobile guiding and Snowcoach guiding in Yellowstone. Every time we get an off season in April or November, you have no clue where she's going to be. She'll be on a beach somewhere remote on a different continent, She's knocking out all kinds of places to see in the world by working hard in the summer, then traveling, working hard in the winter, then traveling. And so she really enjoys the whole guide layout. Clint Parkhill, he's a winter ski instructor. He was a history teacher, and his hobbies are hunting, fishing, hiking, skiing, and art. Hey, Clint. Hope you're having a good time down in Texas with Diane Hovis. All right, Kevin Millard. He has 45 years of guiding in the Wyoming area. So Kevin has more time guiding than I've been alive. So that's a statement. We love having Kevin on the team. He is a Native American that lives on the Wind River Indian Reservation in the full winter. So lifetime of Wyoming experience. He's worked on ranches. He does his Native American art. He's great at storytelling. And so he's just an awesome guide to have on the team. Neil Moore, he's definitely got an energy that's fantastic. 6 years guiding, wildlife biology degree from University of Montana. And mountain lion studies in Montana, they go out and did radio collaring with the mountain lions. And that was an interesting study because it leads to a lot of critical data on how mountain lions operate and how they live their daily lives. And so we can help manage for them in the future. Loves to do that outdoor challenges such as the climb, the swim. He likes to rock climb, swim, bike, and he does this thing called the picnic where they swim, like they climb to the top of the Grand Teton, then they run down, swim Jenny Lake, and then bicycle into town. And he does that a few times every year. So he definitely gets out. Mark has a lot of guiding experience. He even had his own company at one time, and we'd run into him out in the park. And of course, it was nice to just share information and visit with Mark back in the day when we were coming off our tour. So he's really good with youth. He ran a youth program for another business here in Jackson. And then now we're lucky to have Mark. So a lot of backcountry experience in Alaska and the American West. So he loves to get out on his raft as well. Okay, so winter in the Greater Yellowstone. Let me see here. Winter in the Greater Yellowstone. Winter season is early November to late April. Now, anybody who knows this area, I mean, winter started in October, and it was really, really rough October for us. We had a lot going on, and we ended up with ice inside the park a lot earlier than I thought would be there. Usually, I mean, we were guiding safaris last year all the way into mid-October, open air safaris. This year, we were done by late September. So we had about 2 weeks at least early winter come in, more probably closer to a month. So anywhere from 100 inches of snow to 800 inches of snow, depending on the elevation. So if you get up around 8,000, 9,000 feet, you definitely can hit this 800-inch mark. Down in the valleys, we can get anywhere from 80 to, 150 or 200 inches. It definitely depends on the year. Most animals migrate to winter grounds, and that's where critical winter habitat and migration corridors are super important, which we talk about a lot on our tours. Highest concentration of animals are seen in the winter. And see this overlook here with the Grand Tetons. We go here. This is called the Snake River Overlook, where Ansel Adams took his famous picture of the Tetons. So skiing is #1 activity in Jackson Hole in winter, followed by snowmobiling, and of course Netflix. So Netflix is popular worldwide in the winter or summer, but here in the winter it's especially important. Grand Teton region, beautiful winter landscapes, historical interpretation of the region, and lots of wildlife sightings, which we're going to be hitting on that. So wildlife in Grand Teton and Yellowstone. So this tour, you're going to be able to see red fox, which is here on the left. You have the coyotes. We'll see a lot of those. Bald eagles, common sighting. Great gray owl. Now that's kind of a special one. You get a great gray owl, you definitely, that's a great trip. And of course, we see thousands of elk, and we usually see well over 100 bighorn sheep in a couple different wintering areas where they winter. We can also see mountain goats as well. Mountain goats are pretty common sighting headed down through the Snake River Highway. Wildlife in Grand Teton Yellowstone. Bison. We love the bison. You know, they're stars of the winter tour. Customers come in, only want to see wolves and maybe some other specialty animals, but the bison definitely in the winter, you get to see them in their true element. And they've got their trails and they use their heads with their large thoracic vertebrae to move the snow. And so seeing them in the winter is just, I think it's awesome. So do all the customers. They don't come in thinking the bison are going to be their favorite, but they tend to win a lot of people over the course of the tour. Bulls weigh up to 2,200 pounds. You know, the cows are usually around about half that, about 1,000. In the Tetons, we have 600 to 800 in the Teton area, and that's also in the surrounding national forests and the Refuge. There's about 3,500 to 5,000 in Yellowstone. That depends on the year. This year, they're probably going to be doing some culling. If we get a tough winter, that'll also knock the herd down quite a bit. And so we can go into the winter having 5,000 with the calves that made it and come out, with only about 3,000 or 3,500. So you can lose a significant portion of the herd. Rocky Mountain elk. So winter migration. Bulls, they can weigh up to 800 pounds. The cows weigh up to 650 pounds, and there's several different subspecies of elk. The winter migration for these elk, depending on where you are in the mountains, depends on how their migration goes. So the elk that mostly we see on this tour, they will summer in the Grand Tetons. About 60% of them summer in the Grand Teton National Park area. Only about 10% in the Jackson Hole area migrate up to Yellowstone, and the other 30-ish percentage they'll migrate into a national forest that's east and south. So the elk, yeah, their migration is really they definitely get after it. Now, a few things when you see them in a herd like this. You'll hear a lot of mews. You'll hear the cows making mew sounds. The bulls really quiet. They usually don't bugle this time of year. It's more of a fall September thing, but we do hear it on and off throughout the year. Bulls are pretty quiet, but mostly the cows, they talk a lot. When we go out on the Elk Refuge sleigh ride, you'll hear them talk a lot. Elk usually only have one calf. Two are extremely rare with elk. So these antlers that you're seeing, these bulls hang out in bachelor herds most of the year. What you're seeing here is migration, so they're all together. And in bachelor herds, you can have 15 to 25 bulls that live together all summer. They don't help rear the young at all. And of course, the harems of cows, they rear the calves, and they go off during calving season. And the males and females, the cows and bulls, they don't interact a whole lot until the fall. That's when you see a lot more of what you're seeing kind of here too. So bachelor herds of bulls, seeing a big bachelor herd of 25 bulls is pretty awesome when they're all in velvet. So a lot of times you'll only see maybe 5 in a bachelor herd too. It just depends. Okay, wolves, the gray wolf. So average pack size in this region is 8 to 12. Large males have been recorded up to 148 pounds without meat. I believe Doug Smith, the Yellowstone lead scientist for wolves, caught one that was 152, but he said, he probably had 20 pounds of meat in his stomach because he just fed. So 148 pounds without meat was the largest one that they have caught to record. Average is about 85 pounds to 110 pounds. Primary prey is elk, and they do have jobs within their pack. So the jobs within the pack, the younger and smaller wolves tend to sift and select out the prey they're going to take down, which a lot of times is an elk calf. And then the larger ones usually take the elk down with a tracheal bite. It's pretty common. So they bite it on the throat, drag it down, and then they exhaust it from there. So they will take moose, they will take bison. Some of the standoffs can last for many, many hours, over with bison. Some of the wolves hang out and they kind of constantly work to harass it over 2 or 3 days, just waiting for it to pass and where they can finish it off. So it's not always clean, but it is nature, and wolves are very important to the ecosystem because they they clean up a lot of sick animals, or a lot of times they do take the young, but older bulls that may not pull the winter. So if they, in February and March, when they're more hunting bulls that time of year, by removing one older bull, that possibly means the other 4 or 5 on the hillside will get more food to make it through the winter. So they're very important to the ecosystem, and were reintroduced in 1995 because of that exact role. Mule deer. Now, a lot of people don't think much about mule deer, but the longest migration in the lower 48 states, and that's as of about 5 years ago, they put radio collars around the neck of these migrating mule deer. And so by putting the radio collars around the neck, they can track these mule deer, and the radio collars are GPS. So they know where they're at, and they usually set them into lower settings where they're only getting 2 beeps a day. And then that makes the battery last longer on the GPS radio collars. So these mule deer have been migrating all the way from Island Park, Idaho, down to southern Wyoming, which is a fairly new discovery. Everybody used to think it was pronghorn antelope, but it's mule deer. A doe may often have twins. That's really common. We see that quite a bit on tours. Bucks shed antlers primarily in February, and does weigh about 150 pounds. Bucks are about 250 pounds. So they primarily feed on, you can see this buck here is he's doing a little bit of moving the snow so he can get to, most likely it looks like bitter brush when I look close there. Bitter brush is really popular in the winter for our ungulate species like moose, elk, and mule deer. Moose, we have about 300 in Jackson Hole. Now that has significantly dropped. There was about 4,000 to 5,000 in the Jackson Hole region is what biologists have told us. And so of course there's a lot of people in panic over why there's only 300 left. Now, one of the reasons they say why is our predators are at an all-time high. Grizzly bears have repopulated the area. Mountain lions, they don't believe were as populated in the 80s as they are now are back in the region. And of course, the reintroduction of the wolf. So we're having kind of an all-time high of predators, which is creating a lower population of prey. And what will happen is, now that this population is low, predators will respond to that, and we should see a rise in the prey species. That's a natural predator-prey relationship. So bulls weigh about 1,200 pounds. Now remember, these are Shiras bulls. They're really dark, almost black if you see them in the summer. And they're smaller than bull moose that we see in Alaska. Sometimes, you're talking 600 to 800 pounds smaller. So they can be a lot smaller down here than in other regions like Siberia and Alaska. So moose is Algonquin for twig eater. That's because they're primarily a browser. So they browse on twigs and brush, kind of that second growth forest type brush is what they like. But they will feed on bitter brush. They will feed on algae. They also will feed on grasses and sedges as well. All right, here's some migration paths. If you look here, you can see in the purple are the mule deer, and they've got some long migrations out. So the W is where their winter range is, and their summer range is generally in Yellowstone and the Teton area. That's not winter range. So in the winter, a lot of times we see a lot of open country without a lot of animals in it, and then we hit a winter range area and they're all over the place. So you can see the W is winter range for elk, the W is winter range for mule deer, and the W is also winter range for the pronghorn antelope, which are in blue. So you can see a lot of animals migrate out of Yellowstone, and this main migration here, this one that you see coming down by the Grand Teton National Park sign, that's the elk that we see most of on this tour. So here we go. There's the elk refuge sleigh ride. And this is a lot of fun. People really enjoy the elk refuge sleigh ride. You go out, the interpretation from the cowboys that are running the horses here, these pull horses, those are a couple Belgians. They pull you out on the refuge and do some interpretation, and then you go see some bull elk before they've shed their antlers, if it's not too late before they've shed. And of course the cows will be doing a lot of talking. Now on the Refuge, they do feed the elk, which is quite a hot topic because feeding wildlife can pass disease. It can cause an unnatural concentration of that species. And then what happens is if one of them is sick, then they can potentially all catch it because they're moving down to the same area and eating the same food. So that's the main thing, is really disease transmission. Is why a lot of environmental groups don't like the feeding, the human intervention. Now on the backside of that, the reason for the feeding, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service tells us this, is they say when they don't feed, the elk like to winter where it's dangerous for the cars and them. They like to winter out by the airport, and so the feeding reduces human wildlife conflict by having them off the highways. And also a lot of houses were built in their winter range. Migration paths have been blocked, so you're not exactly the same wildlife climate we were 150 years ago before these changes occurred. So it's quite a hot topic. We do go over it on the tour, and it's really a cool thing to go out on the elk refuge and do a sleigh ride. So as we head from Jackson Hole, our guides will take you down the Snake River Canyon. That's where we usually see the mountain goats. And by taking you down the Snake River Canyon, you see some beautiful scenery. You'll see lots of, there's another feeding range we see. And then of course, we'll see most likely some more bighorn sheep. And then these waterfalls here. These waterfalls are beautiful stop along the Snake River. And this is, of course, winter range for a lot of waterfowl. And when we get into, that's the Fall Creek Falls. When we get into West Yellowstone, Montana, on our way from the Tetons, when we get into West Yellowstone, Montana, we can see the Bear and Wolf Discovery Center. That's optional. That's up to the guests if they want to take off, if it's still open, and go check it out. A lot of people like it, seeing bears. The bears don't hibernate in that Bear and Wolf Discovery Center because they feed them year round. So they stay out and they stay active even though it's snowy and it's cold. They're not hibernating there. They do slow down though. So here's the Snowcoach to Old Faithful. So this is day 3. We head in and you'll be in one of these snow coaches, and there is some video on our Facebook site you guys can see of kind of what that's like. You could be in a snow coach that looks like this yellow one, or you could be in the older red ones. They're all fun to go in. It's only about a 15 mile in, 15 mile out run. And we stop at the hydrothermal features, and we also see the bison along the way, sometimes wolves, sometimes coyotes and fox, and ravens. Of course, we always see ravens. So here's Old Faithful. This is what everybody loves to come see. So it erupts every 45 to 120 minutes, which in the winter, I think you get quite a better contrast than the summer. And going in to see Yellowstone in the winter is one of my favorite things because of the contrast. You have these 180-degree springs that put mist all over these trees and create what's called a ghost tree. So just seeing that contrast of extreme heat from these are created from the volcanic heat below us, heating the water. And so you see this extreme heat with this extreme cold. I mean, it could be 15 below zero, and right next to a hot spring, you're seeing the steam come off. So Old Faithful its constriction point is only 4 inches wide. So going over geysers a little bit, we have fountain geysers and we have cone geysers. And so this one is a cone geyser, obviously. And so it has a constriction point that allows enough water through for it to shoot straight up. Whereas the fountain geysers, they spread all over the place, kind of like if you put your finger in a hose, right? While the hose is on, it'll cause it to spray all over the place. Whereas this is a nice, smooth, where it comes out, the spout, and it lets out about 8,500 gallons per eruption. So the visitor center, we have time to go around that on day 3. We will hit the visitor center. We go around, we see inside, you can see there's a picture here. And the visitor center has some nice books and shopping, and customers always love to go in there, check everything out. And we do a little walkthrough. They've got some video as well that they play about the volcano and how the geysers work, which is a cool video. And of course, we watch Old Faithful go off. It's on just the other side of this building that's pictured here. So here is walking around one of the boardwalks. This looks like fountain paint pots. And walking around the boardwalks, you get to see these beautiful colors with the steam. And you can see here how the steam is gathering on these trees, causing ghost trees. Sometimes that'll kill the tree if the tree grows too close to the steam. It'll eventually die from being iced in too much. So these hot springs, there's a Clepsydra geyser we see. We got leather pool. There's silex and several other pools we see and geysers. Then on the way home, we stop, if weather permitting. A lot of times this road may be closed, but we stop for a sled dog stop. One of our guides that used to guide for us, he went ahead and got got some of these dogs from Greenland. They're actually a Greenland breed, and they pull sleds. They're meant for pulling weight, so they're not a racing dog. These are meant to pull weight, so they're quite a bit bigger than the racing dogs you see on maybe like the Iditarod in Alaska. And so these dogs, they're rearing to go. When you see them, this might be your first time seeing them, ever seeing sled dogs. They love their job. Taylor puts them on here. He'll run them, usually 15 miles or so, which is what they're built to do. They love to pull weight, but he usually just rides on there by himself or with one other person. And these dogs pull all day, and they love it. You'll hear them barking, ready to go, rearing to go. And then, of course, on the way back, we'll also see maybe some bighorn sheep. The bighorn sheep in the winter range, coming just out of the Madison Range in West Yellowstone. And we may see some sage grouse. So the sage grouse they're a nice sighting because that's a pretty cool bird to see. So lodging, we get this question a lot. Where do we stay? So we stay in Jackson, and then that way, there's quite a bit of downtime, where it's dark and you can't even tour. So it's nice to be centrally located in Jackson. And we stay at the Lexington or we stay at the Parkway, and they're both centrally located in Jackson, Wyoming. So you can go out, have a brew, go enjoy the area, and it's just a great town to come have some fun in, especially in the winter. I mean, Jackson was built originally for the winters, for skiing. So the summers were so short that, they didn't do too well with the dude ranches, and they almost finally took off with the skiing, and that's what the village. Lodging in West Yellowstone, we stay at the Stagecoach, and this is the Stagecoach here, you can see. Now, West Yellowstone gets hammered with snow, so you definitely got to, when you walk around to the restaurants or walk around town, this is also centrally located, so you can go shopping and have some fun around, or walk over to the Bear and Wolf Discovery Center and enjoy the town of West Yellowstone, Montana. So good place to have a beer, get a nice bite to eat, and enjoy the winter. There's Gannon. Look at Gannon standing there, our proud guide. Look at him. He's doing a great job out there guiding our customers. So these are the vehicles we're in. The van that Gannon has there, we'll do Suburbans as well, which I don't have pictured here. The cherry red are the old school Bombardiers. Those were originally designed really before roads were being plowed. They designed these in Canada to get medical supplies to people. And so Yellowstone ended up getting a bunch of yellow ones. They got a bunch of yellow ones, and that's where those got pretty famous. And so now there's a few older ones around, and these older ones take us in sometimes, but we also go in on the big wheeled ones. And then there's also this version where they have tracks on the back and skis on the front. So our vehicle situation is usually one of these three. And so you guys can see what you go out in, which are great for wildlife viewing. The van travel is nice. It's tall. You can get in and out really easy. It's got a side step. So nice big windows, and we open the door for good pictures, and we get out and look at stuff with the spotting scopes and tripods. So you ready for your winter adventure? Book today by visiting our website, brushbucktours.com, or call us 888-282-5868. Here's a basic packing list. I will be posting this, so if anybody wants to go back to it, I know a lot of people are more video friendly than they are email friendly. And so So I'll post this video up and you can see the basic packing list to bring some base layers, bring some normal clothes. I usually buy my clothes big so I can layer underneath. A beanie style hat, gloves, heavy winter coat, ski pants or Gore-Tex outer layer pants are good. Winter style boots, 800 gram thin slit. But, you know, honestly, all these can be rented here. I know a lot of people may not live where it's, you know, they want to buy all this. You can rent it. There's snowmobile rentals in the area and they rent out the clothes, and those clothes are awesome. I highly suggest them to everybody that's coming from the South, like Texas or Georgia or somewhere where it's hot and you'll never need that again. You may just want to come out here and rent it. And it's brand new gear. It keeps you warm. It's built for the area and the cold. Hygiene kit, make sure you bring that. Glasses, contacts, contact solution, driver's license and passport, a couple credit cards, and your phone charger. I've left a phone charger in every hotel I ever stayed at. So good thing in Jackson they sell them. Bring your camera with equipment. Now you got to remember, one of the good setups we use is a phone scope, and our guide has one. We share share the video and pictures with everybody, but a phone scope is a really good add-on because cameras, even if you have, you know, the DSLRs that'll reach way out, oftentimes, you know, you're seeing things that are, you know, 200 yards out. The real good pictures, you can't really get them unless you clip onto a spotting scope, and that changes the ball game. So I hope everybody enjoyed this, and we will be sharing some more video of this winter. And stay in touch with us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and look for more of these. We're headed to Africa next November. We'll be doing these all winter, this winter and next winter. We're taking bookings for next winter as well. And we also have our 5-day wolf trip. So if you want to see more wolves, I'll be doing one of these for wolves as well. I'm Adam Lackner signing out, and thank you for watching.